out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Hello, Tim.
Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning to you, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be to you listening. This is Dismembering Horror, episode 75, in fact, of Dismembering Horror, the podcast show where myself, Ryan McDuffie.
And myself, Tim Aslin.
That's him, that's me, that's me, that's him, that's we. We dismember a horror film every week, in fact, every Thursday, straight from us to you. And to dismember a horror film, what does that mean?
Well, let me explain. Ryan McDuffie and myself, Tim Aslin, will sit down and watch a horror film that maybe one of you suggested we watch. Mm-hmm. And maybe we just found on a list somewhere. Mm-hmm. That's why it's pretty hit or miss.
Yeah, got to get them from somewhere.
And then, after we watch it in a dark room together, to set the mood, we get into a not dark room with microphones and we talk about three things in the movie.
Bing, bam, boom.
What worked,
Bing.
What didn't work,
Bum.
And things that we found noteworthy or interesting
Boom.
about the movie that neither fit into the worked or did not work categories.
Yes, that's right, Tim. And we've made it to episode 75 here. Thank you for joining us. And this is a very special episode because since I think this is our first kids film, we're making this our first kids-friendly, G-rated episode of Dismembering Horror.
I'll do my best.
We'll see if iTunes still chooses to slap that explicit content on our episode. But our goal is to not have that.
That's right. A lot of gall darns.
Yep. I'm actually very excited to see Tim attempt to...
Restrained.
Fun. I mean, this movie we watched, Goosebumps, is pretty harmless. So, we'll see what you thought.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, anything to wrap up before we get into Goosebumps here? We watched, I think, the worst film we've ever seen last week. The Grudge 2020.
Ugh. Yeah.
Not to dwell on that, but I did need to set the record straight on. I listed what my 3 most hated film going experiences were, which, is a lot for me. I don't hate a lot of things. And that was, quick recap. That was the Tooth Fairy one, Darkness Falls.
You saw that in the theater?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
It was in high school. We were just seeing everything. And then I said, why him? And then
right.
The Grudge. But the one that I was missing, I don't think I mentioned, I realized after the fact, was Battle Los Angeles. Do you remember that one?
Yes. There were 2 movies that came out that year that were the same premise. Battle for LA and Battle Los Angeles.
Oh, God.
Or some version of those 2.
I don't remember that one. But you remember Battle LA.
I do.
See it?
Yeah.
It was terrible, right?
It's pretty unremarkable.
There's my 4 offensively bad films, and 2020, The Grudge.
You know what's cool is sort of the history of the Battle of Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about it.
Yeah, look that up. It's pretty interesting. It's like some weird event in the,
There's pictures
40s
of it.
Or something
it's
like that.
It's basically
Maybe
when
50s.
It was during World War II era, when we were all nervous about, invaders. There were UFOs over Los Angeles, and we started firing flak cannons or whatever we had stationed up onto them.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah. And led to
what was going on?
Horrible film. In name, perhaps.
Why didn't they just make a period piece about that and make it aliens? That would have been way cooler instead of doing this sort of modern warfare Call of Duty thing.
Yeah, where it's the few aliens do come down, but then it's all about how, it was a small contained battle that they were able to cover up or something. Yeah.
That would have been sweet.
Then just show all the real life headlines the next day.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
Well,
maybe we got to make it. Okay, all right.
I've made it 5 minutes without swearing.
Congrats, Tim.
Can you believe it?
You can do it. I believe in you.
Well, let's see.
Okay, well, to move on to our actual episode, we watched from 2015, Goosebumps. Should we just watch the trailer?
Sure.
All right, this is it. Goosebumps.
Mom, are you positive that there weren't any other places looking for vice principals?
You promise you'll give it a shot?
I promise. And I looked into it. Legally, I can't live on my own until I'm 18.
So you're the new neighbor?
Yeah, I'm Zach, by the way.
I'm Hannah.
Get away from the window now.
I gotta go.
Hi. Hey, we're just moving in.
You see that fence?
Yes.
Stay on your side of it.
He's a big teddy bear.
Don't take it personally. He doesn't really like anyone.
Yeah. Oh, Hannah's in trouble.
Oh, who's Hannah?
She's locked in this house, and her dad's a psychopath.
Does she have a friend? Whoa, The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena? These are all Goosebumps manuscripts. Why are these books locked?
Did you unlock a book?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'll put it back where it belongs. Look, here it is.
No, don't open it!
Well, Tim. First up is our rating, how we rated the film based on our rating system. Would you tell yourself, would I tell myself, would we tell ourselves to avoid it, stream it, rent it, or buy it? And I think it's important for this episode to mention I was just of age and ilk to be a huge Goosebumps fan. They're a very important part of my formative years. I couldn't think of anything when I was more excited to wait the 2 weeks for the new one to come out. I was the exact, what?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So just for anybody who doesn't know,
and there's Tim's background.
I'm a few years older than Ryan, and Goosebumps books did not exist in my world. I don't know if I somehow missed it or what. Or
you missed it. I was the perfect age. You were in high school or college, probably.
Right.
This is like written for fifth graders. Like, is what R.L. Stine specifically says, like, is the key, like, age point. That, like, was the age. I was, like, 4th, 5th grade, probably right when this was in its prime.
Well, I have absolutely no context.
So, you know.
I mean, I knew they existed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And I would not have expected you to be reading them at the age you were when they were popular. So different perspective and different biases.
My perspective is that, I'm going to quote, Goosebumps are caused by the contraction of the tiny erectores pilorium muscles attached to the hair follicles. The contraction of these muscles is dependent on the activation of the inner nerves known as the autonomic nerve supply. So that's where I'm coming from.
And where I'm coming from is Goosebumps.
Cool.
Who wants to go first? The rating. Do you want me to? Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'm feeling we made different. Well, okay. I went in with very low expectations to this, Tim.
Wow, really?
Because I don't know, part of me is like the Goosebumps fanboy at heart, the kid in me. Like, I always wanted to see legit good adaptations of some of my favorite stories themselves. So, you know, when I heard it was just this weird, like, you know, self-aware hodgepodge thing, I kind of didn't know what to make of it, or just kind of sounded like a studio thing. But having seen it now, I really feel like this is the best way to make a Goosebumps movie, is by you make a Goosebumps story by doing this. Like, it's essentially like the Cabin in the Woods for kids is what I realized.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. If there's something about just that, like, you know, when it's aimed at kids, a lot of the times because it's not trying to, you know, do what Cabin in the Woods did and sounded like totally flip you and trick you and it's got to do this. It allows for a sort of like really like satisfying structural soundness of just everything. You know, sometimes beat for beat things, they can be so eye-rolly, but when this is the intent, it's just also very satisfying. Just everything clicks, pays off, yada yada. And At this age, it's more like just good, stupid fun, I thought. Jack Black, I kind of always like. Just watching him sit there and make sounds is always a delight. So I give it as high as a rent it. But the clarifier, if I had kids, I would totally buy it and be like, this would be one that I'd hope they enjoy and watch with them.
Cool. Have you read all of the books?
No, because
Do you know how many books there are?
I forget the official number, and there's spin-off series, but like when I was reading it, I started to sort of stop, and it sort of felt like it was losing its gusto around, I think, book, like I want to say early 60s or so. But like, I still have at home in storage, just like all of them. I want to find a good place to donate them or whatever, but there's a lot.
Okay.
But I made it up to like 50, 60. I was into some of the Choose Your Own Adventures, Goosebumps. So there's all those things too. And he's still doing them in whatever iteration there is.
Cool. I mean, look, I think it's a fine movie, in particular, just sort of for what it is. It's a solid kids movie. So from that angle, like I'd rent it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not really for me.
Yeah. But it doesn't hurt to like.
But it wasn't like I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
And those movies exist.
Yeah.
I thought going in, honestly, a friend of mine came over, I don't know, this is a couple months ago or something like that, and we were just shooting the breeze. And and I had mentioned that I had just gotten Disney Plus, and she was like, she's like, there's this really good Disney like scary movie from my childhood we should watch. And it's called Mr. Boogedy. And I was like, that sounds awful. Like the worst thing ever. It's like the worst sort of combination of bad, Disney Channel, like made for TV, whatever.
Called Mr. Boogedy.
It's like they couldn't even say the Boogeyman because they didn't have the rights to it or something. And so they make up a thing. And we watched it, and it is horrible. Uh-huh. Granted, I remember seeing it as a kid, which was sort of weird and trippy to be like, I've seen this. But it's so cringeworthy from every angle. It's sort of like plays dumb, thinking that that's what kids want, which I hate. Like, I don't like when films sort of play down to an audience.
Yeah.
And coming into this, Goosebumps, I was very concerned.
Me too.
I was like, this could be worse than Mr. Boogedy. Just if they go in the wrong direction. Yeah. And they managed to go in the other direction.
Yeah, it didn't talk down.
Yeah. So, cool. Good job. You did it.
Great. All right. Now we move on to our summary of the film.
I mean, I feel like you should take this.
Great. So it's classic Goosebump setup where you have a lead character, in this sense, a boy. What are their names? Okay, I forgot. I always got to check up on their name. Dylan. Oh, Zachary. So we have Zach, right, and then Hannah. Okay, so Zach and his mom. We pick up, the husband, the father just died. They're moving to a new town. Zach's like, he's totally just like the blank slate kind of guy character. And quickly they're neighbors. There's the cute girl next door, and then also her angry father, played by Jack Black, who we learn is R.L. Stine. And he's so protective. One of the reasons is because all of his this takes place in a world where R.L. Stine is real. He's the author of Goosebumps. So all of his manuscripts exist in his house, his original manuscripts, all under a lock and key. Then in sort of thinking that Hannah's in trouble, Zach gets over there. Him and his doofy new friend, they unlock one of the books with the Abominable Snowman in it, and I guess a second one too with Slappy the dummy in it. And then all the Goosebumps creatures are released upon the world, and it's up to our little crew of the Zach, Hannah, the friend, and Jack Black to figure out how to save the day and stop Slappy's and his monsters from... Well, they've overtaken the whole town within the course of the book, so it is sort of on that big scale. It's fun. And they gotta come up with a plan, even after Slappy's destroyed all the books, how to get rid of them.
Yep.
Yeah. And guess what? They saved the day. It's great.
Can you believe it?
But yeah, it was great. I don't know. I'm just getting ahead of myself with my excitement here. I guess it's just fun because then the sort of the middle section, the bulk of the film is this is sort of like when they're trying to get to wherever they're trying to get the school to get Jack Black's typewriter, Arlson's typewriter.
Right. Yeah.
It's just sort of like a fun, we know all the creatures have been released. What are they going to run into next? So that's really the meat and bones of the film too.
Yeah.
They all have their little arc. It's great. All right. Anything to add? Miss anything?
No, I don't know.
All right.
There's a weird abandoned fair thing in the middle of the woods.
Big finale. Yeah, we have the sort of the first finale area is at the school. Then that moves on to this fair, this abandoned fair set in the woods. And Hannah turns out to be a ghost as she's one of the creations herself. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. Kind of almost felt like a throwbacky, like a 80s 90s kids gotta stop the monsters, or whatever film. All right, so we can expand on all that. Should we move on to our first section, what worked?
Sure.
All right, what worked?
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked for you?
Already said like how it works on the level of like a Goosebump story itself. It's so in the spirit of exactly that, of like the trio of kids.
Okay, give me a sense of like what a typical book.
So often, then like what's the inciting incident? Often, moving into the new town kind of thing. Even down to the level of like, when Jack Black says that quote, which the real R.L. Stine loves, he thought was very true to him, of every story has a beginning, middle, and a twist. We even had that, like, even though you have the satisfaction of them saving the day and and the big finale, there's always that last little, like, one of them's still loose, or it's even worse than you expected, kind of, fun to beat. But what got me too, on top of that, it was just working in that sense, like that it had this whole meta level of it too, where R.L. Stine, the character, has to write what is happening in the movie as a story in order to then suck all the creatures back into the book.
Yeah, I like that there's this, they integrated a backstory for R.L. Stine of like the reason he wrote these books in the first place is because he was a bit of a, misanthrope or something as a kid and didn't have any friends, and his stories became his friends. And so it creates kind of like, we've seen this thematically in other films like The Neverending Story, where it's like the power of your imagination and like what that means. And in the wrong... it's sort of like a scale of like good to bad. It's like it can come out in a good way and be positive, and it can, if it comes from a place of too much kind of despair, that there can be kind of a negative shadow side to it. And in his case, he's writing, out of anger in certain ways that he didn't have friends, or he was mad at sort of his circumstances or something. And the types of stories that he wrote were to get imaginary revenge on the kids that made fun of him. Mm-hmm. And that came with a price that, you know, sort of mystically that turns into these stories then manifest in reality. And he didn't shut it down then. He gave into that and kept going, which sort of that's a pretty complex and interesting like character quality to describe and to like put into a kids movie.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of smooth enough that like you can pick it apart if you want to intellectualize it, but I think a younger kid will get it. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not too overdone. It's not harped on really. It's sort of maybe 2 conversations touch on it and then that's kind of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really cool construct.
Yeah, because then we immediately know, all of these monsters that are unleashed have ill intent. They were designed to sort of just be pure evil, take revenge, be bad guys.
But then, came from a place that's, you know, sad and you know, it's touching in a way.
Right. It makes totally, that metaphor is just doing it.
It carries over too, because he as a character then lives this secluded, lonely existence. Like he's punishing himself in a way, but he's not learning the lesson. Yeah. That isolation is not good. Mm-hmm. And so the story, him getting forced to get involved and to like sort of, in a way, help these kids and like become a part of their world, is him learning the lesson of isolation is bad. I should become a teacher. I should be a part of the real world again, and that there are good people out there and I can do good things with my stories as opposed to bad things with them. So it's structurally and storytelling wise, it's great. It's like good lesson, good arc for everybody, good character development. Like it's all real solid, except for Dylan, but whatever. Two things on that. Like just the rules of the magic of how like it has to be this typewriter kind of thing. All of that, it was explained just enough to make us go, okay, we get it, but it wasn't over explained to the point of us going as like asking more questions. Well,
you know?
I see, this is a thing that I think, there's a really easy way to screw this up. And that is to over-describe the magic or the rules, or to have the character that is abiding by the rules continue to sort of screw up and like not get it. And we're like, you're smarter than that. You should get it. What's the issue?
Or like even just spouting more exposition about it.
Right.
Like, even more rules. It doesn't do that. Yeah.
And what they do in this is really simple. They say, how do we solve it? And they're like, well, we already set up the premise that you wrote the stories and that's what created them. So why don't you write a new story that we can put them into? Yeah. Like into a new book. And he's like, yeah, that's a good idea, but I need my typewriter. And they're like, who cares? Just get it. Just type it out. Just type it. And he's like, no. Every single story it was written on that typewriter. It has to be that typewriter. The end.
And it's cool.
There's no more. Right. We're like, great,
but we
even get it.
We even get it on a deeper level of just the idea of a kind of, you know, if you're creative, how like you might have your sort of routine, or that there is kind of like juju or whatever behind, you know, any like, exactly. The space you write in, the thing you're drinking when you do it. Whatever. And so that just helps us immediately emotionally get it. And it's a fun idea to expand on. Oh yeah, it's just what you have to do. This is where the magic is. You put all of them on it.
It's sort of that hanging a lantern on it that we've talked about. And, you know, it's always good in this sort of circumstance to have a character who's going, why don't you just do this? Mm-hmm. And then to have a very straightforward, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. Here's how it works. We don't have time to worry about it. Let's just get the thing done. That's a good way to move on. Because what it does is it doesn't make the audience ask the question that the person who's hanging a lantern on it asked. Mm-hmm. If we don't have that person go, why don't you just type it on whatever, just grab a typewriter. We then, the audience, start asking that. Like, like we need to know why you can't do that.
And we trust them at this point too, when they know it doesn't work. And like you just said, R.L. Stein's arc, Jack Black's arc, like it was fun, paid off. He got like the girlfriend at the end too, is teaching at the school. He's not a misanthrope so much. And I just loved too, like I was worried going into it that it was just going to be the kid's story and Jack Black was just kind of gonna, get trapped the whole movie or whatever, not necessarily be in it and they have to solve them. It's up to just the kids. So that he was actually part of their little troupe throughout the whole thing made me very, very happy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Smart to do that. You have Jack Black, use him.
Yeah, definitely. I like little specific things like that are just, they're fun and dumb. Like his name before we know who he is Mr. Shivers.
Yeah. Old Mr. Shivers.
Old Mr. Shivers. It just sort of is like the right flavor for this type of story.
Even like R.L. Stein's cameo as a teacher, he's named Mr. Black, so just him and Jack Black switched last names.
Right, exactly. I love that when he finally gets the typewriter and is looking for a place to write, he goes into the auditorium and they're putting on a stage production of The Shining.
Yeah.
And he acknowledges it. He's like, this is perfect or whatever he says.
All that was a funny joke, the ongoing thing of, I guess not ongoing, but using the Stephen King reference to that's how they got him to admit who he was by just playing up, isn't Stephen King more successful author?
He has a flip out.
Yeah, which made sense if you're going to be in a world where, again, this is our world that's taking place and the authors exist. It was funny. And have that come back too. There's it's our second, on his typewriter at the Shining set.
It's our second movie that's had to like hang a lantern on Stephen King.
What was that?
In what was it called? We just watched it. It's like 5 movies ago with Sam Neill.
Oh, in The Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, Mouth of Madness, where they're like, Steve King.
Yeah. Hey, speaks to his influence.
Yeah, no kidding.
Though, skipping ahead to some trivia things of note, R.L. Stine has sold, I think it's, God, I forget the actual number. What would be 400?
Yeah, it's definitely over 350 million.
Okay, yeah, it was Stephen King sold 350 million, then R.L. Stine was 400 million.
Oh, yeah. More now. More than 400 million.
There you go.
It's crazy. All those kids.
Think
of all those kids.
Right? I was one of them.
That influence.
I mean, when you know what Goosebumps is and you look at some of my work, Tim, you remember my dummy movie?
I do. How could I forget?
I have specifics too, but I also have some broader things still. Just like from the get-go with the opening credits, I liked it had that classic feel of like it was the 2-3-5 ratio. You had the Danny Elfman score that wasn't it was working, and I don't know, I just got on board pretty quickly with what it was.
Yeah. Like the cars driving into the country.
Yeah. The Goosebumps titles, classy enough. Classic and classy. And
so green.
What else? I had just if it is a comedy too, the things that were getting me going for most. Just within the first 20 minutes and like being with you watching it was just tickling me. Like okay, it's like with the goofy sidekick, friend is introduced, and I just could hear Tim just going like, look at this, like whatever, just dry, like, oh, okay, you just sitting here watching this kid's movie, I don't know, it's just tickling me, especially with the first 20 minutes of setup of just your brain knowing
20 minutes,
knowing your brain was there assessing this all.
Felt like an eternity. So much setup.
No, it was great though. And then that first chunk
there was a moment when we were like probably about 20 minutes in where I literally looked over and I was like, I've completely forgotten what movie we're watching. Like, I don't even know where we are because it was so kind of innocuous.
Just watching some high school story.
Yeah, it was like they were in the auditorium and they're like, he's having, new kid at school life. And I was just like, wait, oh, right, that's right. We're watching Goosebumps. Okay, when's that going to happen?
Well, I think it set up just the right amount to get into their little world they're setting up.
Yeah.
And that first chunk too, just Jack Black, just in his like hammy over the top Jack Blackness. You stay away from here. Just all that was just cracking me up every time he spoke in that first chunk.
Yeah.
But I think like the biggest like actual genuine laugh moment for me that I was just so surprised at was the goofy friend Champ. Like after they go through this whole thing of like getting first chasing after an abominable snowman and getting attacked by him. It's this whole kerfuffle. They like use magic to put him in a book, and after having gone through all this, he turns to Zach and is like, "So what do you want to do now?"
Right. Yeah. The night is young.
Yeah, and just I don't know, and that setup too tickled me of like the way that he got him over there, Champ over there, was telling him he was going to the dance, so he's in his suit the whole time.
Right.
I thought that was funny.
Well, he gets to the dance eventually, so it pays off. I think I really like the moment of when Hannah has snuck through the fence, right, and whatever, they kind of get caught after they've gone into the woods and climbed on the Ferris wheel. And, Jack Black, R.L. Stine, whatever, catches them through the fence and sort of grabs her and pulls her back through. And then the next time Zach thinks that she's in trouble or whatever, he runs over to go to the hole in the fence, and it's been like really like just crappily boarded up. It's like two boards in an X. It's like, it's such a cartoon sort of thing.
But you just imagine
it's great. It's
cartoonist Jack Black just hammering away.
Yeah, he just grabbed two planks and was like, this'll stop him.
Yeah. This will show
There's
him.
something really fun. They hit in a nice level of not dumb. It's dumb, but not too dumb, I guess. Yeah. It's fun dumb and not dumb.
Yeah. This is what I was wanting when I saw the other Jack Black Kids film, The House, the Clock in its Walls.
Clocks in the Walls, yeah.
Something like that. This one was better.
Oh, wow.
I already mentioned kind of in the summary, I love just the fun and games, as they call it, section of just knowing, okay, now they're in the graveyard, they're going to run into something in the graveyard.
That was good.
After just having the lawn gnomes attack them too, which I love.
Maybe my favorite.
Yeah, so good. That was always one of my favorite books, Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, it was called.
That's what it's called? Wow.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. It was scary. Just because, like, Goosebumps, they had a lot of, it was always that tension, which just always is a tension point for me in life, of like someone not believing you or the truth or whatever. So you a lot of the times have that the kids are the only ones that Slappy's doing stuff with, and they keep getting blamed or whatever. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit.
The graveyard scene is great.
The ghouls, they're just those typical straight up like B-movie zombies. They're just fun to see that.
Well, and there's a really good the sort of back and forth character development stuff between Zach and Hannah, where he's been established as pretty jumpy and she calls him a scaredy cat a few times and whatever. And then they're going, things have sort of turned for the worse, right? Like the actual books are all open and now it's like, it's serious. I was going to say that in a different way, but I resisted.
Thank you.
And so they're in the graveyard and they're kind of having a little bit of a moment. And then there's a really good, it's the same thing as the Tremors, like my favorite part in Tremors, which it's a false scare where we've established that there are people sort of in the shadows in the graveyard for like one shot. So we know that there's danger. And then she gets grabbed and she screams. And it's just a statue that her hood of her shirt has gotten caught on or something like that. And so it's a good false scare, right? And then he helps her out and they're going to kiss or whatever. And then the moon comes out. And so we get kind of this, it's sort of a really good stacking of reveals, because it's not a reveal that she gets scared, but it's revealing that she's also vulnerable. She's not just this like stalwart, tough, you know, nothing affects her kind of person. So we get a little vulnerability with her. Then we get a little bit of intimacy with the two of them being like, we're close and oh my God, like, ooh, we might kiss or whatever. And then we get this third sort of reveal of, oh, she's a ghost. She's a Goosebumps character that R.L. Stine wrote.
That was such a good twist.
It's a really, really powerful twist because it's sort of like so just bummer.
And it's also, but it's also that level where it's like you go, oh, of course. Like,
right.
I loved that it got me that way and I was so invested in it and it had that same bummer reaction. But that's from, instead of The Girl Next Door, The Ghost Next Door is the name of the book.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Number 10. Mm-hmm. Well, it's number 29. Whatever. Yeah.
Just little turns like that. I was always surprised by, even when it was like, the R.L. Stine getting together with the aunt who's been set up, wants to date, but it's just like click. It's like so obvious that they set it up for that, but then when it works and you just didn't see it coming, it's so satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Then they go where? Oh, the grocery store scene is fun.
The werewolf.
Yeah. Why did they go to the grocery store?
It's just the way, it was the direct route to the back of the school, I think, or something.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why they couldn't just go around
right.
it, but something about they had to cut through it.
Oh no, they went in because the giant praying mantis.
Oh, they got
attacked
chased
them.
Right.
Yeah, they basically had to take shelter there.
So,
but that whole sequence is fun. It's good chase and scary and. I mean, not really scary, but it's fun.
Yeah, because you have I like the moment where it's pushing Jack Black in the cart and he's like, get me out of here. But then as soon as he sees it would take more time to get out, you actually have the excuse for him getting pushed in the cart.
No, the that level of humor and those sort of that style of joke is great.
Yeah, tossing him the werewolf, the dog chew toy to distract him.
What it is, it's the reversals thing, right? Shane Black, another guy whose last name is Black. There's an interview. There's a really good, I think it's a letter. No, what's there's the video essays, Every Frame a Painting. Mm-hmm. And he does one that I think is the one on Bugs Bunny cartoons and how to shoot comedy. And I think it's that one. Either way, they talk about reversals, this idea of in a good sort of exciting sequence, you do this thing where it's and Shane Black is interviewed, he describes, I'm not going to do it justice, but he essentially describes it of everything goes from a yay to a oh no to a yay to an oh no, right? Or something to that effect. So I think his example is we're in a plane and we're being chased and we're going to get away. Oh no, the engine's failing. That's an oh no. We have to jump out of it. So what are we going to do? Oh yay, there's a parachute. We jump out. Oh no, the parachute won't open. Oh yay, we've got to back up. Oh no, it's this. So you get this push and this pull. Cartoons do it amazingly. That's why good cartoons are good often, because they're just so good at it.
And why it's
stuff.
also just there's a foil to the main, Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner, Tom and Jerry.
Exactly. So it's that reversal thing, and they do a really good job in the action sequence of that thing. I mean, a good example in the trailer, I don't know if you guys heard it, but the moment when they see the gnomes and the lead kid, Zach, is like, well, maybe they're friendly gnomes. And then a knife gets thrown next to his head. He's like, nope, not friendly. That's essentially it, right? A lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh no, the gnome jumped on Jack Black's face. Oh yay, I have a frying pan to hit the gnome with. Oh no, when I hit the gnome, it also hit Jack Black's face and knocked him out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can get out of here. It's that kind of stuff is just really well done. The bear traps are a really good example of that, right? It's you think, oh no, bear traps. Oh yeah, they're killing the gnomes. All that whole chase sequence of fun and games is really good.
Right. And
it moves really, really well.
How you do that well is what I would say, what's the how do you best utilize the setting and what can only be done in this situation, just as we always say. Promise of the premise, pursuing potent possibilities.
Yep.
I liked it took me by surprise. Like, you know, I don't know, I didn't see it coming. Like a lot of this, I guess that worked for me. But pretty quickly, this gets to like a town-wide, you know, the creatures invade the whole town. Like it's big. It's a big scale. And, you know, in that fun way of like Gremlins or something.
I
got
had
excited. You know, they take over the police station. Slappy takes over the police station from the get-go. That was fun with all that.
Yeah.
I loved Slappy the dummy as this orchestrator and almost kind of like the main foil. That was such a smart decision on their part, because Slappy is kind of probably has like the most books, as one of the more iconic Goosebumps characters. But it is that he's smart, he has magic, and he's just devious. You just can't trust him, you know. So it's just a fun, and he's sort of the perfect he's supposed to be the like the dark R.L. Stein's reverse, you know, his dark side. So fun foil to him. But just the fact that he was orchestrating it all, he like takes over the police. I don't know, it was perfect.
He's voiced by Jack Black.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a smart decision to have him not just be another one of the faceless crowd monsters.
Yeah.
Which I also loved, the big crowd of monsters, where it's just so fun because you feel like everywhere you look, it's something interesting, makes you want to rewatch it. Even if you aren't a fan and like don't recognize specifically what they were, it's because what's so cool about this film and what sets up, you have everything from like a giant praying mantis, like a 50s sci-fi movie, to just the weird R.L. Stein stuff, evil lawn gnomes. Right. You have aliens, you have a werewolf. It's just like, it takes on this sort of, the hodgepodge that it takes on is just so much fun. And I think why I loved it as a kid is just, and still do, you hear my enthusiasm.
It kind of reminds me of, there's a thing that I really love is like artists sort of drawings of, you know, all the monsters from the 30s, you know, and they're all hanging out together in a scene.
Yeah.
Like, I love stuff like that. I always liked it. Like, I read a lot of comic books. Like, anytime you had like a poster that had like 60 of the heroes on it, I was always like, oh, cool. And then you get to like look through it and figure out who all is in the poster. This feels like the same thing. If I knew the books, it'd be like, wait, let's pause it here because there's a shot of everybody and let's like pick out who's who, and sort of it feels a little Where's Waldo-y, and like you get to discover all the little Easter eggs.
And a lot of them too get their little moment, whether it's a shot or that much more, or they are all more featured monster. It's fun. The blob that ate everything comes up at the end.
I mean, I thought it was a little bit weird that guy from town was just dressed up as a clown, like playing along with this whole thing.
No, that was from a book.
Oh,
it was an evil clown.
Oh, okay. He's just like, it's my turn. I can be myself without ridicule.
My real friends. Let's see. A lot of the CG wasn't totally lame.
I thought it was all fine.
Right. Like the ink coming out of the book, like when it zooms in close up, I'm like, oh, this actually looks real. Yeah. And like a lot of the kind of, passable CG, it's when you see them in close up, like the Abominable Snowman, like in close up looked really cool.
Mm-hmm. I thought, I was going to criticize some stuff. I won't.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. And for the most part, I agree with you though, that it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I was surprised.
2015, right?
Enough to surprise me. It's just more setup payoff stuff of having the school dance that's like the through line, to have that all be the big, I guess there's two like finale sections, but have that be one of the final set pieces, all the monsters invading, have to board up the school, all the kids together, like you're saying, the turn of, oh, you're crazy, there's monsters, to then seeing the praying mantis attack, being able to bring in all these little side characters set up. That was just all fun. And then same with the, of course, as soon as they go to that fair, this is where the finale is going to take place. But in a way I didn't predict too, of like, so they set up this Ferris wheel that they go on, to have it get knocked over and spin down the forest. It was fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
Super dangerous.
Yes. Well, stakes high, it was scary too. Like, I was along for their ride.
Yeah.
the ending, it worked for me of like, you go through, like we said, we were sad, their relationship couldn't work. She's a ghost. She gets sucked back into the book. She has to do it. But then at the same time, you're like, start to try to think, well, wait, but like, does she have to go back into them? And then surprise, surprise, the rules of the world, it allows it. Oh no, he just has to write her into existence again. And he does.
But I think it's a cool thing to be like, I don't know. I feel like there's a way to kind of connect it to the broader themes of like the power you have to write these things comes with a price. Mm-hmm. And so given the circumstances, it's sort of more of an oversight by Zach because he just says all of the monsters get sucked back in the book when he's writing the final thing. And then he has that realization of like, oh, I should have written that differently.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
And I really like that because it is just life, right? Like sometimes we get caught up and we overlook a thing, and sometimes it costs us.
She's not a monster to him.
That's right. And so yeah, it's sort of like, it's an unfortunate result of the circumstance.
Right. And how it plays out, it's way more satisfying to have her come back in a satisfying final twist beat versus like him going, oh wait, all of them get sucked back into the book except for Hannah, of course, who doesn't.
Parenthetical.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Like it's a bit of his lesson is pretty clear. It's similar to R.L. Stein's lesson, but it's like, the people that are important to us or the things that are important to us are always with us, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's that sort of moment before Hannah comes back that Jack Black says, they're here in your head and in your heart and whatever else he says, in your imagination, I think, something like that. And, that's a good lesson to say it's for Zach to ultimately be accepting of the loss of his father. It's this circumstance has helped him to come to terms with that loss, not the loss of Hannah. The loss of Hannah was to help learn the lesson of how to cope with the loss of his father. And that's great. And so because of that, because it's not all about losing Hannah, it's about this other broader, bigger lesson. When she comes back, it doesn't feel cheap. It's sort of like, oh, cool. Like, we get to have that too because he learned the lesson.
Yeah.
If he hadn't, we'd be like, this is super cheap. And if, like you're saying, he had just like quick fixed it in the moment, we would have been like, yeah, okay, well, that's kind of lame and cheap. Like, it didn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good. It's good writing.
Right? It's just, again, satisfying, all clicks. Just I have two last things, just some things on the casting. I love just some of the faces that popped up. You have Amy Ryan, who is like Michael Scott's love in The Office. Tim, one of those people in the world who hasn't watched The Office, apparently.
Yep.
And then of course Ken Marino as the coach. He was really funny, in his bit parts. And then I had to look up his name, but the one of the police officers.
Oh yeah, he was familiar.
Timothy Simons. I know him from Inherent Vice. He's one of the sort of like bumbling FBI guys in that. And then also the other officer, Officer Brooks. She's Amanda Lund, who's just a comedian that I think is really funny. And
she's very funny.
She should be cast in a lot more things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my last thing I had that worked for me, Tim. Can you guess what it was? Okay. Here's my big, hyperbole, non-hyperbole setup. Probably, we've watched films that like have really gotten under my skin or just disturbed me, that what we want from these horror movies I watch, actually, scare me. But as far as just like a get my heart going jump scare, this had the biggest one and more than Paranormal Activity 3. I think that was your biggest jump scare.
Oh yeah.
Even that I was just kind of like, right. Oh, whoa, cool. But it didn't really get me going.
Yeah, like the blood drained out of my entire body. I was like, ugh.
So Tim and I are sitting there talking after the movie about halfway just like that.
Oh my God,
about halfway through the end credits. There's no even like little just kind of cartoony animation or anything. Just
No.
out of nowhere, there's Slappy's laugh. Just, you know, like that. That just, oh my God, it got my heart going, Tim. It just sounded, because it wasn't like a movie. It was just like, it sounded like, you know, I wasn't thinking at the time. I wasn't processing.
Yeah.
It didn't give myself enough time to recognize it was coming from the film.
Oh no, your reaction was like, there's something in the room with us. It was so good.
So props to, it took the Goosebumps movie to give me my first real scare out of the 75 horror films we've watched.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good job, Goosebumps. You did it.
Okay.
That's funny.
Should we do our next section?
Yeah.
All right. On the other side of the spectrum, what did not work?
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
I mean, I had just a few things. I mean, I had very little if you want me to get them out of the way.
Sure.
I thought overall, like, yeah, I said Jack Black was great. A lot of the supporting characters, the monsters. The kids, I can only say, were, like, totally fine and had their moments, but they aren't necessarily, you know, on that level of, like, you know, they aren't the Goonies kids. They aren't, you know,
Sure, yeah.
the two people in Gremlins. I'm not like, oh, man, they just killed it. They were classic, you know, kind of thing. But again, they did great. And all had moments. Like I said, even the dorky friend dude had a good laugh for me. Like, which again took me by surprise. But it's something, you know, while at the same time I was saying what works about this is that it's so typical and made for 12-year-olds. Maybe that's just the one thing where, you know, when you fall into the super typical, like, archetypes characters, the fact that the main dude was just like such just a blank slate guy. I don't know, whatever. It feels weird to harp on, but that's fine, not great. And
well, I mean, I think he's an interesting. He's been in a bunch of stuff. That actor, Zach.
He's known for 13 Reasons Why.
Is that? Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's in that. I didn't watch that, but
Me neither.
I think he's the kid in one of the movies that I said, like, please don't go watch because it's horrible. It's like the. It's called Open House. I think he's the lead in that. It doesn't matter. I think part of the problem, and I hate this is such a unfortunate thing in the world of casting and acting and talent and all of that. He's really talented. Like, he's got very good timing. He's got very good sort of like presence, and like he's in it, right? Like I totally believe him. He just happens to look almost a little, he's just so clean looking, like, and I don't know how else to describe it. I don't mean that he's not dirty, but he's like, there is no edge to him as a visual.
Yeah.
And it's very odd. He's got kind of everything about him, just, he looks kind of like a mannequin to me. And I think it's a little beguiling because it goes against the character traits that he's really, really good at leaning into. And so it's like, I get why he gets cast in this stuff, because he's kind of towing this line of like, he's a good looking kid and he's got an actual personality, and that's really great. But it's sort of like he needs, I think this will happen as he grows up. He needs like some roughing up somehow visually.
Yeah.
They don't do him any favors in how they sort of costume him. It leans him into too clean still.
Like, it showed he liked baseball. He could have always worn a baseball hat. Just something to like kind of
something that's not like monochrome, tight, like clean lines. You know, like he
should have kept wearing that hat his aunt made for him.
God, can you imagine? I would kill myself if I was him and I had to be in this movie and had to wear that hat the whole time. I'd be like, please, this is my chance to be like the lead in a movie, and you're making me wear this hat?
Well, they didn't.
Oh, thank God.
Can you imagine that? Yeah, they're shooting this movie for 60 days or whatever it is, just always wearing this hat. There was some magic in that. I don't know how they could have gotten it. Anyways.
Yeah, but anyway, this is not a criticism of him in any way. It's sort of just a product of, I don't know what you call it. It's like you can't be taller, right? Or shorter, or
it's
whatever.
Fine, but like 2015, could have been, would have kind of maybe leapt into the world that much more if it was just a non-white male lead.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, because that's a big part of my what doesn't work.
For me, it's just like, okay, this movie started to get developed in 1998. I'm just gonna assume it's still from that. No one just chose to spoke up.
There is zero diversity.
Yeah,
just zero. Like there's not any person of color in the entire movie.
Yeah,
there's certainly no gender, like everything is so binary gendered. It's like boys like girls, girls like boys, like everybody's gonna match up with somebody. Even what's his name, the other teacher, not the character
teacher,
the one who goes after Zach's mom.
Oh, Ken Marino.
Yeah, so
Coach.
even Ken Marino, it reeks so much of sort of like, hello, sexism is not really funny.
Yeah,
because he's gross, and like the idea that gross is funny, like sexually gross is funny. We've moved on, right? Like we've learned that that's not really cool. And so I think if we had watched it in 15, we would have keyed in on it less. But I think it's further to your point that it feels like it was written in 10 years earlier-ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that hurts it. It's distracting to me.
Yeah, no, as soon as he comes on screen, I'm just like, oh, I could have been that much more in it had it just not been the case.
Even the stuff with Dylan, the dorky friend, and like the prom queen sort of girl that he has a crush on, that it just feels kind of icky. It's like, I don't know how you, like, what's the alternative version of that doesn't feel like such a, like, cliche, such a, like, white binary.
Well, she didn't have to be the, like, super stereotypical prom queen, you know, blonde type, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, so...
It just felt a little of that, like, that whole, Seth Rogen as the male romantic lead against all these gorgeous, Seth, gorgeous man, I'm sure. But you know what I'm getting at. Yes. That
it's
sort of...
a very old cliche. We've seen it in commercials for the last 35 years of some, dumpy, balding 50-year-old being married to this, like, a supermodel. And you're sort of like, yeah, sure, that's great. But, like, having that sort of put out into the world as like, see, he got her. That's what's creepy about it. Not the fact that exists, that anybody can be with anybody. Who cares? But the promotion of that as a sort of like, yeah, we're winning. We're winning because we're dudes. It doesn't matter that we're don't care about our own well-being as long as we get the girl. Yeah, like that's gross. And I think we've moved on. Well, some people have moved on.
And it really, I don't, it's not an excuse, but I could really see that it happened with this in that a movie that's developed that long totally makes sense, where it's just like, okay, they're still making the
and
movie.
To be fair, the Me Too thing happened in what, like 16, right? So like a year later.
Yeah.
If this movie had been being made during that or post that, it would be a different, those things would be different probably.
As solid as a lot of the CG was, I'm like such a fan of practical effects that, if any of the more CG moments, they could have gone, just a close-up shot of the actual, like, physical werewolf. I just love that stuff so much. So there was a lot, like all the background characters though, that was some stupendous like makeup work that they did, kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm just always going to not notice CG at the same time. When it works, it also equally doesn't work.
Well, I had a realization. So initially I was going to kind of criticize some of the CGI because it gets rubbery and wonky and cartoonish. And then it dawned on me, it's like, this is a cartoon.
Yeah.
Right? So like to have, I'm going to kind of backtrack on something I haven't said. So, but that was what I was going to say, that it didn't work, that it was sort of wonky CGI at times, especially with the werewolf in the grocery store. But it does work in this context of this world.
Yeah.
To enough of a degree that I'm like, I'm okay with it.
I guess so. I don't know.
It's right on the line.
I'm more on the other side where this film struck such a good, as I said, like classic tone from the get-go. That
I mean, don't get me wrong. If they had costumed like a werewolf and had a dude coming after them,
how cool, right? And I didn't say this in what worked, but I love that style of werewolf too.
Sure.
Where it's kind of the right in between, where it's more wolfy than wolfman-y.
Yeah. No, that I agree. It would have been cool. So yeah, I'll still come down on it a little bit.
And then, just that whole...
They wanted the action. They wanted to have him, flying across the screen and swiping at them. So it's like...
They show it all... It's just one of those things where CG, you feel they're showing it all a little too much because they can, versus giving it all more gravitas.
Well, and to that point, the one thing there are two things I remember from when this movie was being promoted. The Ferris wheel and the Wolfman. Like they blasted those two images on all of their promotions. Like every trailer was just that. I was like, in the grocery store scene, I was like, I've seen this scene. Because I've seen a commercial for this movie 100 times.
Yeah, I didn't remember it.
Back when we watched commercials, I guess, in 2015. I don't know.
Then, lower tier on what didn't work. But this is more just like the being, the kid in me fan of it. The one edition that I missed, there were a couple that I was like really hoping to see that they worked in the movie, but they didn't, and it was fine because they worked in so much. But there's the horrors in Horrorland, which are these. It was probably my favorite one, my favorite book, and they have like expanded on it. It's called One Day at Horrorland, I think was the book, but it's basically just like it's like an evil amusement park. Where, you can die on the rides. Everything is malintent. It's just like this crazy, crazy Horrorland park. And running...
Do you think that's...
And running it are all these, like, kind of green-skinned, like, devil-horned... they're just called the Horrors, I think, or something like that.
Do you think that the Ferris wheel and that was sort of a loose...
God, it made me wish that they had been somehow... God, that would have been perfect if they had taken over that area of town and like were a final kind of thing that they had to go up. Yeah. God, that would have been great.
Maybe they need to save it for the sequel. I don't know.
Well, we'll get to that and things.
Oh, okay.
But and then the lawn gnomes, as much as I did love them and I was just gleeful and smiling, they are a different design from how it is in the books and the cover of the book, where they're described as like they're ugly. These were just regular lawn gnomes come alive, but I don't know, it was kind of fun when they're actually scary looking themselves or just not pleasant. I don't know. So that's just one of my but just I remember that cover of the Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes so well, and they kind of have that like that elongated, like, what's the space between your nose and your upper lip, kind of like look to it. I can't think of the comparison, but
sure. I get what you're saying.
Ugly, creepy looking. Okay, anything else? Should we move on to things of note?
Don't shame people with long upper lip nose spaces.
Right. That's why they did it. Okay, things of note.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
They started trying to make this movie back in 98 with Tim Burton attached to produce it.
Interesting.
So I think that's why maybe Danny Elfman was still attached as the composer. God, 17 years later?
Yeah. Great. Moving on.
Wait, what was the thing? So, and then as far as, the sequel, that came to be. We have not seen that. I have not added it to our hat. Don't be worried. But it was announced it was going to be like a more Horrorland set thing. It's like working promotional title or something was like Goosebumps Horrorland, and that would have been so cool. So cool. But it ended up being just a like Halloween themed story having nothing to do with the Horrorland thing. So or maybe I still got to see it, but as far as what could have been, they rescinded that title and idea, much to my, and I'm sure others' disappointment.
Everyone's.
I was reading sort of about R.L. Stine and about him and some of his approach to things. He loved that quote during it and said it was very much him when Jack Black says, even though he didn't say it, he like approved the script, loved it, and loved that line. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and a twist. Mm-hmm. When you look at just the titles of even a few Goosebumps books, this totally makes sense. But R.L. Stine, like, and his brother as kids, they like would go to see one of those horror B movies, sci-fi movies every weekend.
Nice.
Makes sense. Plugs in, giant praying mantis, those aliens in it. But there's almost a. I mean, this is why Tim Burton would be sort of a good fit if you look at what is it? Mars Attacks. Yeah, it's right. I kept thinking, these are similar sort of vibes. Could have been fun, but sort of he's a contrarian in a lot of writers' advice, where he says a lot of people don't like this or say this, but I like to start with the title. He gets really excited about the title at first, so
that's cool.
Scarecrow walks at midnight, monster blood. He's that's this is what gets him excited, starting from that place. So not whatever works for you, but it was fun to hear him speak to that's what works for him.
Cool.
Anything else you have? I have more. I'm just feel like I've been talking a lot.
No.
I'll keep talking.
It's your show today.
Okay. So you said how, Jack Black voiced Slappy the dummy. Mm-hmm. He also, they wanted Slappy's face to resemble Jack Black's.
Okay.
So
did it?
That was, so it's bit. Without the glasses. You have to, imagine it with the glasses, whatever that Jack Black's wearing in it. Mm-hmm. But at least that was some direction in there. And Jack Black also voiced the Invisible Boy.
That doesn't surprise me.
Especially when the Invisible Boy's voice was just so that obvious, like, right. Like, it's just picture Jack Black doing that. It's funny.
Did you know that R.L. Stine has 2 pen names?
Yeah, for Fear Street, it's you. No, he has for I guess his older books crowd, he has a different name.
I think the pen name thing is so odd.
I mean, Stephen King has one.
I know. Why do you do that though? Like, what purpose is it serving?
Like, think of it like those names: Stephen King, R.L. Stine. They like mean so much beyond. They have such a strong connotation to it. I think sometimes, and once you reach that level of success too, it's just. I think it's just one more thing in your toolbox to why not use.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but what? Wait, what are they?
Oh, Jovial Bob Stine.
For his more jovial stories?
Maybe. And Eric Affabee.
So funny. I love he's such a weirdo, Tim.
Yeah. He seems like a cool dude.
He is he reminds me of watching him talk, sort of like a cross between like Stephen King and David Lynch. Type guy.
Nice.
Very, believes what he said. This is how it is. Mm-hmm. You get the ideas this way. One time I was walking down the street and saw a mother say to her daughter, and that's when I thought of this.
Right. That's funny.
Sometimes the editors say this, and you have to, that kind of matter-of-fact way that David Lynch talks, but then the kind of... the more practical horror bent that Stephen King possesses. That's why I compare those.
It's funny. We haven't seen a Stephen King movie yet, have we?
You mean one that's been written, like, based on? No. I don't think so, no.
We were thinking of going to the Pet Cemetery.
Right. I mean, I didn't see... I still haven't watched... A lot of people... It's Gerald's Game. Did you watch that?
I've started it, and I just wasn't feeling it, so
okay.
I've
heard good things. But as we have many things on our list, I haven't seen Maximum Overdrive. That's one I want to see.
In your life?
No.
Oh, dude, I used to watch that when I was a kid. It's hilarious.
Could be a fun revisit. For you. All the kid actors, they said the creepiest thing on set was that clown. And
I'm shocked.
Right? But they said that it was partly because he never ever broke.
Oh my God. That's what I'm telling you. He probably wasn't even cast in this movie. Yeah. He probably just lived in that fake town. And he's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Just let me grab my wig.
No one asks why he's there.
Yep.
Super little trivia. This was so tiny.
Some first AD or like, you know, whatever AD is like, hey, you over there in the clown guy, come over here. We need you in this shot. And he's just like, okay.
Super tiny trivia. So there's an Egyptian priestess, one monster.
Wow.
And her eyebrows are actually hieroglyphics that spell out the word goosebumps.
Okay.
Like, right? Like, never seen.
Some costumer just got... you know what? The costumer probably was somebody who read all these books. Yeah. It was like, my dream.
I hope... Speaking of actually the costumers, the makeup designers, I didn't write down any of the specific stats, but it was really incredible, like when, you know, we said CG, but some of the creatures that weren't CG, like to hear the effort that they put into it, where it was something like they had, there's like frozen people, and it took like, God, 4 months to like create their wigs, and there was like the swamp creature that like took, you know, they said however many hundreds of thousands of whatever little things they had to sew in that took months and months and months. So crazy. That detail was there. It's appreciated.
I didn't look. Did this have a pretty hefty budget for the time?
I think so. It made money. Yeah, it was 58 to 84 million is the budget.
That's quite a lot for a kids movie. Yeah,
and then grossed 158.
Great, good for them.
Yeah. Jack Black, I think I got about just under 3 million.
100 million of that profit.
It was kind of funny seeing Jack Black tied up by the gnomes, like because that's it's like just when you're a movie star, just you have these things happen to you. He was in Gulliver's Travels and he got tied up by the little people and that. The Lilliputs.
He got tied up in Tropic Thunder too.
But it's just funny to see like that exact way of these little guys tying him up. It's like, there's that happening to Jack Black again.
I mean, for all we know, that was something he, thought of when they were sort of working out those scenes of like, where are we going to go with this? That he could be like, well,
I don't.
Last time I was in
that involved.
Yeah,
but I could see definitely someone like that
making that connection.
Memory.
Yeah, totally.
Or even from like Army of Darkness, they're a fan of that.
Oh yeah.
It threw me off at the beginning seeing those Sony Pictures Animations title.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It was kind of funny. It says, this is the first Sony Pictures Animations live action film. Like,
is there a non-live action Sony Pictures Animations film? Like, what
I guess
what are those?
I mean, they only did... No, the question would be the other way around, right? Like, this was the first one. It's called Sony Pictures Animations. You shouldn't be surprised that they're doing live action films. No, you shouldn't. You should be surprised they're doing live action films. You knew what I was saying.
Oh, so they're the company. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, other than this live action one, what had they done prior as Sony Pictures Animations?
A bunch of animated films, we'd presume.
Well, I'm looking right now. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
There you go.
The Smurfs.
The last thing of note I had written down here, Tim, was okay. You know how this movie in so many ways, as I said, was like very throwback 80s, 90s. You know how like with the Goonies, there's the great Cyndi Lauper song Goonies are good enough, but then like the music video is just so wacky and hokey.
I honestly don't even know what you're talking about.
Lou Albino and stuff. It's so weird.
Wow.
And who's that? Andre the Giant, someone like that.
Okay.
So there's this history of just like weird like spin-off music videos. The Men in Black, one. When we watched Willard, Crispin Glover had his then music video.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I recommend you check out the single associated with this film featuring Jack Black, Bumps Gonna Goose Ya. And it's just...
You are really trying me here. This is... It's like,
no,
if
Tim,
I'm not supposed to swear in this episode.
Tim, if I was trying you, I would show it to you. Because this thing, just, it's kind of... Just you should watch it listening if you want to see. It's ridiculous, but like always, Jack Black has given it his all. But it's pretty funny. It just seems totally like a not of its era. Just quick, gotta like bust out the music video for this song we also busted out.
Well, we know Jack Black is musically
That's
inclined.
why it's fun to hear him go, "Mom's gonna goose ya!" You know, he does his Jack Black thing.
I will say thing of note, I was very pleasantly surprised that he managed to get one ki. Like, he has like a recurring
ki.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do it right now. He does this. He does a sound like vocal thing in so many movies, in like the Tenacious D stuff. All of it. He goes ki, and it's sort of just like this expression sound that he makes. Right? He managed to squeeze it into this movie at one point. I was like, there it is. You got it. Ki.
Wait, what was the part?
I don't remember. I think they're in the high school.
Okay. Great. That's all I have for things of note. Should we wrap this up?
Sure.
Move on from Goosebumps. Thank you all for joining us for Goosebumps. We're going to move on to our RecommenDEADtions, what Tim and I can recommend dead. We watched, read, heard, saw, ate.
That's right. We've done food. Okay, so I'm going to continue on the nostalgia train that we're on, and recommend the live action Aladdin, even though I know a lot of people didn't like it. I watched it and I quite enjoyed it. It's not as good as the animated one. Don't get me wrong.
I've been on the fence about watching it, actually, so convince me.
I don't know if it was just me being an emotional person and like feelings, having a day where I was feeling like, I don't know, easily moved by things. I don't know, but like the music in it is very good. As you know, like the music from that musical is amazing. The songs are great. It was super nostalgic for me for some reason.
Probably the music.
And I felt quite moved by a bunch of it. The acting is very good. Even the Will Smith, it's Will Smith and he's doing his thing. It's fine. It got really just bad panning, and I don't think it was justified. They did a good job, and the bad guy is great. Like, everybody's performance is really good. It looks great. I mean, it's fun.
I wanted to watch it. Now I will.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. What made me, as you would imagine, it does have a credit roll song that is a rap by Will Smith. And It's just like, I was like, oh man, they did it. They went there. They could have avoided it, but maybe not. I think it's in his contract. I think every movie he makes, he is contractually obligated to do a rap in the credits.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not far off. I recommended recently The Lady and the Tramp.
That's true. You're right. Which I've still never seen the original, so.
I am going to recommend Dead. On theme, this is one that's, you got to get crafty to track it down, but one of my favorite Goosebumps things as a kid was a computer game called Goosebumps Escape from Horrorland. Okay. And it was kind of like one of those Myst style, point and click adventures, but also had like an element where you'd get trapped underneath Horrorland and it turned into like a first person shooter where you couldn't shoot anything. You were just running away from these like terrifying monsters that you could hear far off. And they just appear around a corner. But it was great. It was actually spooky. It had the horror guy, all the video, the filmed cut sequences were like really fun.
Yeah.
And it got by the end, it started one of the main actors who weren't one of the main kids in it that you're playing as or whatever. No, you're some other kid. You're just with these main kids. But one of the main people in it, Jeff Goldblum, plays Dracula.
Nice.
And it's just totally Jeff Goldblum playing Dracula.
I can only imagine. My God.
But I just was so fond of that game as a kid, and I don't know if I'd revisit it, but could be fun too. I don't know, like if you just recommended Aladdin, if you can be in a certain mode to get behind, it could be fun. I'm sure there's a way to like ROM it or whatever, figure out, get crafty, however you play old Windows games where there's a will, there's a way.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Goosebumps, Escape from Horrorland.
Cool.
Next week's movie.
It's my turn. Give me that hat.
There you go.
Oh, there's slim pickings in here. There's only about, I don't know, like 9 left.
We got to refresh it soon, otherwise, because our chances just keep going up of picking wrong turn 2.
Oh, that's true. Angel Heart.
Angel Heart?
No clue what this is.
Me neither. Tim and I immediately look up. Did you recommend it to us? Oh, okay. Someone did recommend this.
Oh, yeah.
Me.
This is the one with Robert De Niro. Right. Okay. There's an image with some blood in it. I'm down.
Great.
Is that Mickey Rourke?
Yeah.
Whoa.
All right. Until you should watch it.
Cool.
If you watch it, the whole spirit of the show too is we hope you'll watch it and then discuss it with us, kind of digest it with us as we do.
Yeah.
Maybe you've seen it before, Angel Heart. Either way, tune in next week, Dismembering Horror. Until then, you can find us at dismemberinghorror.com.
Yeah, you can see us on Instagram.
Yep.
We post stories and stuff sometimes.
And you should leave us a review on iTunes.
Yeah.
Mean a lot to us.
I'd also like to just thank Ryan's mom. It was, through the grace of your desire to have me not swear in this entire episode that I managed. I just thought of you the whole time. And I said, I don't want to disappoint Ryan's mom. And so thank you for that. We did it.
We did
together.
Because, Mom, you should hear him usually. He's a great guy, I swear, though. Just...
You don't swear. I swear.
I swear. And, you should leave us a... tell a friend.
Yeah,
that really helps us out if you enjoyed this. Find another like-minded horror fiend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that's it, Tim. So in closing, thank you so much for listening.
And we will see you next time. Goodbye.